Nigeria Binational Commission. Even as we speak, as most of you know, the U.S. military is lending us their expertise to help recover our precious daughters from the hands of officials visit us. It says, your country is important to us, and you are our friend. And indeed, we know that we love America in Nigeria. However, when the U.S. Secretary of Commerce comes to visit, it says a lot more. It says that U.S. is indeed ready to engage with the country, with Nigeria, in terms of commerce, in terms of economic development, in terms of industrialization, which is key to the development of our country. And that is why this visit is not only important, but extremely significant. And also coming at a time like this. And when I say time like this, you all know the meaning of that. It means a lot more to us Nigerians. So it's much more than a visit by a U.S. official to Nigeria. A native of Chicago, Illinois, prior to being sworn in as the Secretary of Commerce, the Honorable Penny Pritzker had distinguished herself as a business leader in her own right. I was discussing not long ago with her, and last night too, about past engagement in private sector prior to coming to government. So we know further the caliber of person who is here with us. Not just a government official, but somebody who has been at the other entrepreneur myself. I'm particularly happy to learn that we both have similar business interests. In our business career, the Secretary has been involved in the financial services, real estate, and hospitality. She also served on the U.S. President's Council to increase U.S. jobs and competitiveness, as I am doing with the National Competitiveness Council of Nigeria. And in fact, anything that helps to create employment in the country is close to my heart. The key takeaway for all of us here, we should, hopefully, with this visit, begin to actually exploit to its fullest opportunities. We are already doing some business together, Nigeria and US, and while the Nigerian people are proud that our oil is serving to power the biggest economies in the world, we are about so much more than our oil industry resources. We are about agriculture, we are about telecoms, we are about real estate and hospitality, we are about entertainment, and we are about banking and financial services and much more. The era of brain drain is coming to an end in Nigeria. Every day, Nigerian diasporans are returning home because they recognize their home country to be a place of opportunity. Every day, new businesses are cropping up, and others are evolving to adopt the highest standards of corporate governance well established in the US and other developed economies. And every day, we are increasing our awareness that the Nigerian and African private sector has a vital role to play in our continent's development, and this is what I call Afro-capitalism. And we are making real progress indeed. Our government has been focused on sectoral reforms, rebuilding our regulatory capacity and institutions, and investing in key sectors that drive the economy. The Nigerian private sector has similarly responded to these sectoral reforms and public investments with massive investments in the power, agriculture, and financial services. Next, we will tackle the manufacturing sector, which is just 5% of our national economy. So there's a lot of room for growth and improvement. We need investors and partners and technical expertise to develop our supply chains, infrastructure, and workforce skills. And American firms and entrepreneurs can help us accomplish this and gain significant values as well for themselves. This is why this visit is not only important, but also strategic at this point in time. And it's why I want to urge our business visitors accompanying the Secretary not to be deterred by the negative press reports that you hear coming out of Nigeria, especially at a time like this. And I'd like to thank you actually on behalf of every Nigerian to march on towards prosperity and want you to come on this journey with us. And together, we can grow Nigeria's economy while helping U.S. economic recovery. And growing Nigeria's economy is what will ultimately reduce poverty and drive away what we have seen in recent times away from our system. It will help us to create jobs and help us also to drive prosperity and economic hope, which appeared to have lacked in some areas. As a symbol of our determination to move forward and for the African private sector to take a leadership role in the affairs of our people, I'm pleased to say that the African private sector leaders met recently and articulated their views, which at some point we'll be sharing with the American leadership. And I believe that will further drive this kind of collaboration and partnership that we're witnessing today. I'll finish by saying, Secretary Pritzker, thank you for your faith and friendship. Thank you for coming to Nigeria at a time like this. And thank you, more importantly, for her. So without wasting your time, I shall call on her to tell us about Nigeria.
Tony, thank you very much. President Obama and this administration see tremendous opportunity in Africa. President Obama has called it the world's next great economic success story. Africa is home to 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world. Real income has increased more than 30% over the last 10 years, reversing 2 decades of decline. According to the World Bank, almost half of Africa's countries have attained middle-class income status. GDP is expected to rise 6% per annum over the next decade, and by 2040, Africa will have a larger workforce than India or China. President Obama is committed to deepening the relationship between America and all the nations of Africa and developing a new level of mutual understanding and respect based on a shared commitment to freedom, democracy, social progress, and economic growth. In Nigeria in particular, the opportunities are abundant. You are home to the largest economy in Africa, and 1 in 5 people on the continent are Nigerian. Not only do our governments stand together as partners and friends, but our companies, as evidenced by the trade mission, are eager to forge stronger partnerships in Nigeria. But before I go on, I want to offer my condolences to the families in Jos following the tragic attack there yesterday. And I want to address the issue that is on all of our minds. To the north of here, in the town of Chibok, hundreds of families are without their daughters today. As a mother of 2 myself, my heart breaks for these girls and their loved ones and their friends. All parents, no matter where they are born or where they reside, hope that their children are always safe and that their children have the opportunity to realize their dreams. That these young girls were kidnapped while pursuing their education is particularly unsettling, and the world is anxiously awaiting their safe return. The United States is supporting Nigeria in its works to find and free these young girls. A team is now in place at our embassy to provide military aid, assist in information gathering, and much more. Last weekend, the United States attended a meeting in Paris where President Goodluck Jonathan and the heads of state of the countries bordering Nigeria, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and Benin, pledged to work together to combat Boko Haram. With them, the United States, France, the EU, and the UK agreed to prevent violent extremist groups from making inroads into vulnerable communities, A comprehensive approach to promoting opportunity, inclusion, and security must be implemented in the region. We will help Nigerians to do that. Our commitment is long-term. We will stand by Nigerians as they strive to defend and protect their sons and daughters, husbands, brothers, sisters, and mothers. For all of the promise here in Africa, situations like this raise serious concerns. The threat of violence, corruption in government and business, and the lack of trust undermine Nigeria's continued progress. Despite these challenges, the United States has been and continues to be a committed partner in your progress. Back in 2012, President Obama outlined his vision for how the United States and Africa would work together towards a mutually beneficial future. The United States strategy towards sub-Saharan Africa laid out a comprehensive policy that would achieve 4 specific aims: strengthening democratic institutions, advancing peace and security, promoting opportunity and development, and spurring economic growth, trade, and investment. These goals are inextricably linked. The United States has a number of initiatives in place to help Africa make progress in each of these areas. At the Department of Commerce, our goal is to advance the trade and investment pillar of the President's strategy. And this trade mission is a sign of commitment by our government to support a new U.S. business focus in Africa. Nearly 600 million Africans, 2/3 of the people, electricity, including millions here in Nigeria. This problem is particularly stark in rural areas where 85% of the population does not have power. Studies have shown that Africa will need $300 billion in $14 billion from 35. Power Africa is designed to catalyze new financing and investment in energy solutions that will help Nigeria and the 5 other countries that comprise Power Africa to provide reliable electricity to its citizens. Already, Power Africa has closed on transactions totaling nearly 3,000 megawatts, with an additional 5,000 megawatts in the planning stages. So here in Nigeria, the Power Africa initiative is providing technical assistance as our government privatizes, as your government privatizes its electricity industry, an effort that could add 2,000 megawatts over the next 5 years. We're also working together to attract additional private investment and to secure financing for renewable energy projects. In addition, our commercial law experts are creating a library of documents to help streamline the process for negotiating and closing agreements and transactions under Power Africa. Next month in Abuja, we will hold a workshop to increase the use of these documents among utilities and regulators. Power Africa is just one example of our long-standing commitment to ensuring Africa's continued growth and prosperity. Let me give you 3 other ways. First,